I can't trust anyone anymore. They all want something from me. Min-jun's voice cracked as he collapsed against the practice room wall, his stage makeup streaked with sweat and tears. The latest death threat had been slipped into his water bottle during rehearsal, the 7th this month. "Sir, we need to discuss security upgrades," his manager said, wringing his hands. "The company insists on no more bodyguards." Min-jun's fist hit the mirror. "The last 3 sold stories to dispatch. I'm done being watched by vultures who see dollar signs when they look at me." CEO Huang stepped forward, his face grim. "If we can't guarantee your safety, Eclipse's comeback gets postponed indefinitely. Your fans, your members, your career, everything stops." The words hung in the air like smoke. At 24, Min-jun had already given 8 years to this industry. 8 years of manufactured smiles, scripted interactions, and zero privacy. But now even his safety was compromised. "There is one option," CEO Huang continued quietly. "International security. Female agent. She'd blend in as staff, invisible to fans and media." Min-jun's mother materialized in the doorway, her designer heels clicking against the polished floor. "Foreign security? What will people think about our family standards?" But Min-jun was too exhausted to care about appearances anymore. "I should have known the moment she walked into that practice room that everything would change. But before I tell you how love became our most dangerous secret, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna, because some protection comes at the cost of your heart." The Stellar Entertainment building buzzed with whispers that morning. Word had spread through the 40-story tower that Eclipse's lead vocalist was getting special protection, and that protection wasn't Korean. "A Nigerian woman?" I heard a stylist whisper to her assistant. "How does she even understand our industry standards? Foreign security feels so unprofessional," another staff member muttered. "What if she doesn't know how to handle Korean media culture?" CEO Huang paced his corner office, fielding calls from board members. "She comes highly recommended from international firms. Former military, top of her class in personal protection." "But the optics, sir," his assistant pressed. "An African woman protecting Korea's golden boy? The netizens will have opinions." "Let them talk," CEO Huang said firmly, though doubt flickered in his eyes. Min-jun's safety matters more than gossip. But in the corporate hierarchy of K-pop, image was everything. Every choice was calculated, every relationship managed, every emotion packaged for public consumption. Min-jun had learned to perform happiness so well that he'd forgotten what the real thing felt like. The loneliness was suffocating. Surrounded by staff, fans, and cameras, yet completely isolated from genuine human connection. Every conversation was monitored, every friendship scrutinized for ulterior motives. "She'll be here at 2 p.m., his manager announced. "Try to look professional." Professional. As if Min-jun knew how to be anything else anymore. The elevator chimed at exactly 2 p.m., interrupting Min-jun's vocal warm-ups. He expected another stern-faced Korean man in a black suit, the industry standard for protection. Instead, Kemi walked in. She moved with purpose, her dark eyes immediately scanning exits, checking sight lines, assessing threats with military precision. But when those eyes met his, something shifted in the room's carefully controlled atmosphere. "You're not Korean," Min-jun said, the words tumbling out before his trained politeness could stop them. "You're not what I expected either," Kemi replied, her English accented with both Nigerian directness and professional courtesy. She was beautiful, yes, but that wasn't what stopped his breath. It was how she looked at him, not with the starstruck awe of fans, not with the calculating assessment of industry professionals, but with simple human recognition. "I'm Kemi. I'll be handling your security starting today." His manager shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps we should discuss protocols." "Protocol is keeping him alive," Kemi said smoothly, not breaking eye contact with Min-jun, everything else is secondary. For the first time in months, Min-jun smiled genuinely. Not the practiced curve of lips he'd perfected for cameras, but a real expression of something like relief. The chemistry was immediate and dangerous. Anyone watching could see it, the way Min-jun's shoulders relaxed, how he stood a little straighter, the first spark of life returning to eyes that had been professionally empty for too long. "Have you worked in entertainment before?" Min-jun asked, genuinely curious about this woman who seemed immune to his manufactured charm. "I've protected politicians, CEOs, diplomats. People are people, regardless of their job title." Her smile was small but warm. "Though I admit, this is my first K-pop star." Something about her honesty was intoxicating. When was the last time someone had spoken to him without agenda, without careful consideration of his status? His manager cleared his throat pointedly. The unspoken message was clear: maintain distance, remember the boundaries, protect the image. But Min-jun found himself wanting to know everything about this woman who just walked into his controlled world and made it feel less like a prison. As I watched Kemi assess the practice room with professional competence, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: hope. I didn't know then that the greatest threat to his safety would be falling in love. That first day changed everything, though neither of us understood it yet. Kemi's protection was invisible but absolute. She positioned herself where fans couldn't see her, but she could see everything. During interviews, she stood behind cameras. During performances, she remained in the wings. But Min-jun always knew exactly where she was. "Your new security seems competent," CEO Huang observed, watching monitors from his office as Min-jun moved through his schedule with visible ease. "More than competent," his assistant replied. "Look at his performance metrics. His stage presence is up 30% since she started." It was true. For the first time in months, Min-jun looked alive on stage. The mechanical perfection was still there, but underneath it was something genuine: joy, perhaps, or at least the memory of what joy felt like. Between public appearances, in the brief moments when cameras weren't rolling and staff were distracted, Min-jun found himself seeking Kemi out. "Is it always this intense?" she asked during a break between photo shoots, watching the controlled chaos of stylists and photographers. "This is actually a light day," Min-jun said, surprising himself with his honesty. "Tomorrow we have fan signs, 3 interviews, and a live performance. When do you rest?" The question was so simple, so human, that Min-jun almost laughed. "Rest is scheduled for Sundays between 2 and 4 p.m. Kemi studied his face. "That's not rest. That's survival." "Yes," he thought. Finally, someone who understands. But this wasn't the first time the company had faced an image crisis. And I was about to learn that in the K-pop industry, even salvation comes with a price. 2 years ago, Eclipse's main dancer Young-ho thought he'd found love. Her name was Lisa, a Korean-American stylist with bright eyes and a warm laugh. They met during a music video shoot, bonded over late-night conversations about feeling caught between two cultures. "She understands me," Young-ho had told Min-jun during those stolen moments when the cameras weren't rolling. "She sees past the idol image." For 6 months, they hid their relationship perfectly. Secret texts, disguised dates, careful meetings in Young-ho's apartment. Lisa even helped with choreography ideas, contributing to Eclipse's creative process in ways that felt genuine and pure. "I want to tell the fans," Young-ho had said one night, his eyes bright with the kind of hope that only comes from believing love conquers everything. "They'll understand. Real love is beautiful." Min-jun had worried even then. The company's dating ban wasn't just policy, it was survival. Idol careers lived and died by the fantasy of availability. Fans didn't just buy music, they bought the dream that their chosen star belonged only to them. "Just be careful," Min-jun had whispered. "One wrong move and..." But Young-ho was 23 and in love. Caution felt like betrayal of something sacred. The leak came from Lisa's best friend, a stylist who sold photos and screenshots to Dispatch for enough money to pay off her student loans. Young-ho and Lisa kissing in his car. Text messages calling her, "my everything." Evidence of a 6-month relationship that shattered the carefully constructed image of Eclipse's pure, devoted dancer. The fan reaction was volcanic. Death threats flooded social media. Concert tickets were burned in viral videos. The group's endorsement deals were suspended pending image assessment. Within 72 hours, Young-ho was out of Eclipse. Contract terminated for breach of conduct standards. His replacement was announced before Young-ho had even cleared out his practice room locker. Where is he now? Min-jun had asked CEO Hwang months later, when the dust had settled and Eclipse had rebuilt their image with 4 members instead of 5. Teaching dance at a small studio in Busan. Under his real name. The industry won't touch him. That was the cost of love in their world, complete erasure from the thing you'd built your entire identity around. Lisa disappeared too, blacklisted from entertainment industry work, her dreams of fashion styling crushed under the weight of being the girl who destroyed Eclipse. Min-jun learned to perform happiness after that, to smile through the loneliness, to never again mistake professional chemistry for personal connection. Until Kemi walked into his practice room and made him remember what authentic felt like. Watching Kemi navigate the stellar entertainment building over the past 2 weeks, I was struck by how differently she moved through our world. Where other staff members bowed and scraped, maintaining the careful hierarchy that kept our industry functioning, Kemi simply did her job with quiet competence. "She's changing him," I heard a makeup artist whisper during Min-jun's photo shoot preparation. "He's actually making jokes. Real ones, not the scripted variety." It was true. The mechanical perfection that had defined Min-jun's performances since Young-ho's departure was softening into something more human. He laughed at Kemi's dry observations about Korean entertainment culture. He asked her questions about Nigeria, about her family, about the world beyond these manufactured walls. "Your bodyguard teaches you Yoruba words," his younger brother Jae-min observed during one of their rare private dinners. "You said, Bawo and I, instead of Annyeong, when I walked in." "She was telling me about her hometown," Min-jun said, unable to hide his smile. "Lego sounds incredible." "Hyung," Jae-min's voice carried warning. "You know what happened to Young-ho. This is different." "How?" Min-jun paused, his chopsticks halfway to his mouth. "She doesn't want anything from me. No photos, no exclusive access, no insider information to sell. She just protects me." But Jae-min's 16-year-old eyes held wisdom beyond his years. "That's what makes it more dangerous, not less." The staff had started talking. Not openly, never openly in the entertainment industry, but in whispered conversations and meaningful glances. The way Min-jun's mood lifted when Kemi entered a room. How he positioned himself where she could see him during interviews. The unconscious smile that crossed his face when she efficiently handled overzealous fans. "It's affecting his image," I overheard his styling coordinator tell the creative director. "He's more relaxed on camera, which reads as confident rather than mysterious." The fans are noticing. Some noticed positively, commenting on Min-jun's improved stage presence, his more natural interactions during live broadcasts. But others sensed something shifting in their perfect idol, and change in the K-pop world was rarely welcomed with open arms. That afternoon, disaster struck with the clinical precision of a perfect storm. Min-jun and Kemi had been reviewing security protocols for an upcoming fan meeting when exhaustion overtook them both. The practice room was empty, the building quiet except for distant sounds of trainees rehearsing. "You should rest," Kemi said, noticing Min-jun's drooping eyelids. "I'll keep watch." "Stay close." The vulnerability in his voice was naked, unguarded. "Sometimes I wake up and forget where I am." Always, she promised. He fell asleep on the practice room couch, his head finding its way to her shoulder. She stayed perfectly still, one hand resting protectively near her weapon, the other unconsciously stroking his hair as he slept for the first time in weeks without nightmares. It was Jae-min who found them an hour later, and Jae-min who whispered the warning that sent them scrambling apart. But the damage was already done. A trainee with a phone camera had captured 30 seconds of Min-jun sleeping against Kemi's shoulder, her fingers in his hair, both of them looking like exactly what they were trying so hard not to be, two young people falling in love despite every rational reason not to. The photo was already uploaded to a private trainee group chat before Jae-min's warning registered. And in the K-pop industry, private information had a way of becoming public currency. Emergency meeting, CEO Hwang's voice cut through the practice room's suddenly toxic air. Conference room. Now. If you're watching this thinking I would have done the same thing, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna. Because the choice she's about to make will change both their lives forever. The company's crisis management team assembled like generals preparing for war. CEO Hwang's assistant pulled up social media monitoring screens. The publicity manager spread printouts across the conference table. Min-jun's mother arrived wearing the expression she reserved for family disasters. Explain this, CEO Hwang said, sliding a tablet across the table showing the leaked photo. Min-jun's heart stopped. In the image, he looked peaceful for the first time in months, Kemi's protective presence evident in every line of her posture. To him, it looked like safety. To the industry executives staring at it, it looked like career suicide. Sir, we can explain, Kemi began. You can explain why you're compromising my artist's image? CEO Hwang's voice was arctic. Do you understand what's at stake here? Min-jun's mother leaned forward. We've already received calls from 3 different entertainment reporters. They're asking about Min-jun's foreign girlfriend. She's not my girlfriend, Min-jun said quickly, then hated himself for how the words made Kemi flinch. She's my security detail. Who's clearly overstepped professional boundaries, the publicity manager added, consulting his notes. We've been monitoring fan forums. The speculation has already begun. They pulled up screenshots of fan comments, each one hitting like physical blows. Why does our Min-jun need a black bodyguard? Doesn't Korea have qualified people? She's too close to him. Something's definitely going on. Foreign women always try to seduce Korean stars for visa status. If Min-jun is dating her, I'm burning all my Eclipse merchandise. The racism was casual, vicious, wrapped in the language of fan concern. Kemi sat perfectly still, her face professionally neutral, but Min-jun could see her hands trembling slightly in her lap. This ends now, CEO Hwang declared. We're terminating the security contract and bringing in a proper Korean team. No. The word escaped Min-jun before his trained obedience could stop it. Excuse me? I said no. Kemi stays. His mother's face went white. Min-jun, you can't be serious. Your career. My career means nothing if I'm dead from a stalker because you care more about appearances than actual protection. CEO Hwang's voice dropped to the dangerous quiet that preceded ultimatums. Eclipse's comeback is scheduled for 6 weeks from now. Millions of dollars in promotion, endorsements, and tour dates. You will not jeopardize that for a temporary infatuation. Temporary? Min-jun's composure cracked. She's the first person in years who's seen me as human instead of product. That chill I felt in that moment, have you ever felt that too? When your heart knows something before your mind catches up. Tell me in the comments if you've been there, your story might help someone else see the signs. The room fell silent except for the hum of air conditioning and the distant sounds of trainees practicing in studios below. Everyone knew they'd reached the moment where careers lived or died, not from lack of talent, but from the simple human need for authentic connection. She goes, or you do, CEO Huang said finally. Those are your options. Kemi stood abruptly. I'll submit my resignation. Kemi. This isn't worth destroying your life over, she said, not meeting his eyes. I knew the risks when I took this job. But Min-jun was remembering Young-ho's face the day he was forced to leave Eclipse, the expression of someone who'd lost not just their career, but their identity. The industry had taught him that love was selfish, that authentic feeling was unprofessional, that his worth lay entirely in maintaining an image that satisfied other people's fantasies. For 8 years, he'd believed them. What if I don't choose? Min-jun asked quietly. Then the choice gets made for you, his mother said. And you lose everything you've worked for since you were 16. The weight of 8 years pressed down on him, the trainee period, the debut struggles, the careful construction of Eclipse's reputation. Hundreds of thousands of fans who'd invested their hearts in an image he'd crafted to meet their needs rather than his own. But looking at Kemi's resigned expression, at the way she'd already mentally removed herself from his world to protect him from the consequences of caring about her, Min-jun realized that losing everything he'd built might be less devastating than losing the first real thing he'd found. I need time to think, he said. You have until tomorrow morning, CEO Huang replied. The story breaks at noon whether we're prepared or not. As the meeting dissolved into damage control planning, Min-jun caught Kemi's hand as she moved toward the door. Don't disappear on me, he whispered. Not yet. She squeezed his fingers once, a promise that felt like both hope and goodbye. The practice room felt like a mausoleum that night. Min-jun sat alone on the couch where hours earlier he'd felt safe enough to sleep, staring at his reflection in the mirrored walls. 8 years of carefully constructed perfection stared back at him, the face that launched a million fan fantasies, the smile that sold endorsement deals, the image that had cost him everything authentic about himself. His phone buzzed with messages from Eclipse members, each one a variation of the same theme: whatever you're thinking, don't. His reflection showed him what everyone else saw: Korea's golden boy, the idol who'd never disappointed, never caused scandal, never chosen personal happiness over public expectation. But for the first time in years, he was questioning whether that person was worth saving. Kemi had shown him glimpses of who he might be outside these walls, someone whose laugh wasn't calculated, whose thoughts weren't scripted, whose feelings weren't focus grouped for maximum fan appeal. She'd treated him like Min-jun the human being, not Min-jun the product. And tomorrow, he'd have to choose which version of himself deserved to survive. The irony wasn't lost on him. The industry that had taught him to perform love for millions of strangers was now demanding he sacrifice the first real love he'd ever felt. But this time, unlike Young-ho, he wasn't 23 and naive about the consequences. He was 24, and finally old enough to understand that some things were worth losing everything for. The question was whether he was brave enough to find out what those things were. That night, Min-jun sat alone in his apartment for the first time in months without Kemi's protective presence nearby. The silence felt deafening after weeks of knowing she was there, a constant shield between him and a world that wanted to consume him. His phone lay face down on the coffee table, buzzing with messages he couldn't bear to read. Eclipse members pleading with him to think rationally. His mother's increasingly frantic texts about family reputation. Industry contacts offering advice that all boiled down to the same message: choose career, abandon heart. But for the first time in 8 years, Min-jun was questioning whether the life he'd built was actually living. He pulled up Kemi's contact information, thumb hovering over her name. She'd probably already started packing, already mentally preparing to return to Lagos where her skills would be valued without the complicated weight of Korean entertainment politics. The apartment felt like a museum of someone else's achievements, awards lining shelves, photos of performances where he'd smiled so hard his face ached for days afterward, evidence of a success that had somehow become indistinguishable from imprisonment. What am I protecting? He whispered to the empty room. The answer came with painful clarity: an image that had stopped feeling like him years ago. At 3 a.m., unable to sleep, he called the one person who might understand the weight of choosing authenticity over safety. Young-ho? Min-jun? His former bandmate's voice was thick with sleep. What's wrong? If you could do it over again, would you choose differently? A long pause. Are you asking if I regret loving her? I'm asking if losing everything was worth it. I lost my career, Young-ho said quietly. But I found myself. Lisa and I broke up 6 months later, but I learned something the industry never taught us, that we're worth more than what we produce for other people. Are you happy? I'm teaching dance to kids who love it the way we used to, before it became about charts and contracts. I sleep through the night. I eat when I'm hungry, not when it's scheduled. So yes, I'm happy. Are you? Min-jun couldn't answer, because the truth was too devastating to speak aloud. Across town, Kemi sat in her small apartment, resignation letter completed but not yet sent. Her laptop screen showed flights to Lagos departing throughout the week, each one representing a return to a life that suddenly felt like settling. Her phone rang. Her sister Funni's face filled the screen, calling from Lagos where it was already afternoon. Kemi. How's Korea treating you? I might be coming home soon. Funni's expression shifted. What happened? Did someone hurt you? I fell in love with my client. Ah. Funny nodded knowingly. And he's married? Worse. He's a K-pop idol. The silence stretched as Funny processed this information. That's complicated. His career will end if we're together. Mine probably will too. And the racism, Funny, you should see what people are saying online. Do you love him? The question was so simple, so direct, so quintessentially Nigerian in its refusal to be complicated by other people's expectations. Yes. Does he love you? I think so. But love isn't enough when the whole world is against you. Love is everything when the whole world is against you, Funny corrected. The question is whether you're both brave enough to fight for it. 24 hours later, CEO Huang's ultimatum deadline approached like an execution. Min-jun found himself in the same conference room where his fate had been decided, facing the same executives who viewed him as an investment rather than a human being. But this time, something fundamental had shifted. I've made my decision, Min-jun announced before anyone else could speak. CEO Huang leaned forward. And? I'm choosing Kemi. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing the first real thing I've felt in 8 years. The explosion of voices was immediate, his mother's gasp of horror, the publicity manager's frantic objections, CEO Huang's cold fury. You're throwing away everything, his mother said, tears streaming down her carefully made-up face. No, Min-jun replied, his voice steadier than it had ever been. I'm finally choosing everything that matters. Your contract can be terminated. Eclipse can continue with 3 members. The industry will survive without me. He paused, looking around the room at faces that had controlled his every decision for nearly a decade. But I won't survive without my authenticity intact. CEO Huang's face was granite. You'll be blacklisted. No major entertainment company will touch you. Your career in K-pop is over. Then I'll build something new. The words hung in the air like a declaration of independence. What about your fans? The publicity manager asked desperately. They've invested in you, supported you. The real ones will understand, Min-jun said. And the ones who don't weren't really supporting me anyway, they were supporting a fantasy. He stood, feeling lighter than he had in years. I'm going to find Kemi and tell her that some things are worth losing everything for. As he reached the door, CEO Huang's voice stopped him. Min-jun. He turned. I had someone once. 20 years ago. A backup dancer from Thailand. CEO Huang's voice cracked almost imperceptibly. I chose the company. I've regretted it every day since. The admission hung between them like an unexpected gift. Don't make my mistake, CEO Huang whispered. 3 months later, Min-jun sat in a small recording studio, working on music that was entirely his own for the first time in his life. No focus groups, no market research, no manufactured emotions designed to appeal to the widest possible audience. Kemi sat nearby, reading a book, her presence a constant reminder that love could be simple when it was real. The song's beautiful, she said, looking up from her pages. It's about you. I figured. Her smile was soft, private, meant only for him. What will you call it? Free fall, he said. About the moment you realize that letting go is the only way to truly fly. His phone buzzed with a message from Jaemin. Hyung, Eclipse's new song just hit #1. But your indie single is trending worldwide. The fans are following you. It turned out that authenticity was its own kind of magic. Min-jun's decision to choose love over image had resonated far beyond Korea's borders. International fans, tired of manufactured perfection, were embracing his more honest music. Brands that valued genuine connection over safe marketing were reaching out. He wasn't Min-jun the idol anymore. He was simply Min-jun, a musician who wrote love songs for the woman who taught him that protection and love could be the same thing. Any regrets? Kemi asked, watching him save the new song. Just one, he said, pulling her into his arms. What's that? That it took me 24 years to understand that the greatest performance is simply being yourself. They were building something new together, a love story that transcended cultural boundaries, a career that prioritized authenticity over approval, a life that was messy and uncertain and completely their own. 6 months later, our secret relationship had become the industry's most celebrated love story. Until the phone call that would test everything we'd built, Min-jun, your military service has been moved up. You report for duty in 2 weeks. I watched Kemi's face change as she realized what this meant. 2 years apart, in a system that doesn't recognize international relationships.